So loud. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Queen City Toastmasters. We have a few people missing, but evidently in this area, there's a lot of traffic lately. So we'll just give everybody a few minutes. So we'll just do a slow roll. I am Sergeant of Arms. So again, bathrooms are behind us, men's to that side, women's on this side. Make sure your phones are on mute. And also if you're on Zoom, if you can keep your volume on mute until you're speaking, I would appreciate it. And I want to go ahead and start with somebody's going to do a special announcement. Her name's Deb Lee. She is our district conference co-chair, and she's also the division audit chair. And she's going to speak to us about our upcoming conference and how we meaning Queen City, can be involved. So please welcome Deb Lee.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you for allowing me to visit your club this evening. I am excited to talk about the District 37 Spring Conference. Did you know the district is celebrating its 70th anniversary? And Queen City is 69 years old. There are only 3 clubs that are older than Queen City in the entire state. Not just District 37, but the entire state. So congratulations to you for being the 4th oldest club. Yay, Queen City. Now, having said that, we have a unique opportunity that we would like to ask your club to participate in during the spring conference. Each year during the conference, we host a hospitality suite. And what the hospitality suite is for is it gives people a space to just sit back, relax, chat with their fellow Toastmasters. Maybe get a bottle of water, a cup of coffee, pretzels, a little snack, whatever. But the important thing about the hospitality suite is that we would like to have a club be the host. And because you are the oldest club in Charlotte and the conference is going to be in Charlotte, we would like to ask that you consider the opportunity to be the host club for the spring conference hospitality suite. I don't need an answer today. I'd like you to think about it, talk about it, and then we'll discuss it further, answer any questions you might have. And with that, I'll relinquish control back to your Sergeant at Arms, David Jones.
Thanks, Deb. We have some questions. I know some of the answers, but I just want you to give them. Our treasurer is sitting here, and he's probably thinking, how much is this hosting going to cost us?
Okay, here's the deal. There's multiple ways to fund the hospitality suite. The district owns plenty of paper products. I've just inventoried them, and let me assure you, there are well over 500 paper plates, 1,000 coffee stirrers, 500 hot cups, and a multitude of other paper products. The only thing that we need is food and beverage, because of course you can't put food and beverage in a storage facility and leave it for 3 years. Even in the best of circumstances, you can expect to have drawn bugs or whatever, and we didn't want to do that. So there's a few ways to get the food. You can contribute it yourselves individually. Oh, well, I'll contribute a case of soda, or I'll contribute a case of water, or I'll purchase 2 bags of my favorite ground coffee. Or you can reach out to different companies and see if they will contribute something. North Carolina is well known for made in North Carolina products. Cheerwine, Texas Pete hot sauce, Pepsi. We also have homegrown companies such as Harris Teeter. Now, I know Harris Teeter is owned by Kroger now, but they were originally from North Carolina. And there's Food Lion, which is still headquartered in Salisbury, even though their parent is in Belgium. The third way is if you just feel like saying, nope, we can't get any food, we can't get any beverages, you come back to me and I say to the rest of the team, okay, let's see what we can find to stock the hospitality suite. I hope that's the least likely option, but I have to mention it. Thank you. Next question.
Any other questions? No. All right. So mostly what we're doing is labor, just working
Yes.
it, serving, cleaning up. That's the main part of
Yep.
hosting. Sounds like the food and beverages, minimal water, sodas, snacks.
Yeah. We're not expecting full meals because people who are attending the conference hopefully will purchase the meals. And I will tell you this, we would love to have each of you attend the conference. Since it is in Charlotte, you are in a unique position to be one of the oldest clubs, and we will be recognizing each of the historic clubs. And what I mean by historic is clubs that are more than 25 years old. And you are in a unique position, being the fourth oldest. Will definitely be recognizing you and all of your membership.
Thank you. So we'll discuss it as a club and as a board, and we'll let you know.
Perfect.
Thank you much. And with that, I want to turn it over to our president, who is still on vacation in the Dominican Republic, Elvis Lopez.
Thank you, David, and thank you very much, Deb. This is truly an honor. We would like to share this privilege with all of the clubs also that are as old as Queen City Toastmasters is. So we'll be looking into that as a group, as a club, and we'll definitely come back to you with a response, hopefully a favorable one. I would like to continue with recognizing our guests as is customary. We would like to go with a round of introduction. I see some guests on site, and also I see a few people on Zoom. So let's get on and have someone help me with introducing the ones that are on site first, and then we'll continue with the ones that are on Zoom.
Sure. We
David?
have, yep, happy to. I have Xavier, who is here again. He's been a guest a few times. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Fellow Toastmasters. My name is Xavier, and I'm excited to be here once again.
Sweet. Everybody else here is members, I believe. Yes. Yep. Everybody else is members. So we do have a couple on Zoom if you want to introduce them.
Yes, I see D. Is that the right name? D. Can you please tell us your name? How did you hear about our club? And what's your interest tonight by visiting our club?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dee. I am originally from Charleston, South Carolina, just moved to Charlotte, so I'm still new here. I found out about the club through Meetup. I've never been to Toastmasters before. I always heard it's great to attend. So I'm here just trying to learn. I do have a lot of big presentations coming up this year, so I'm hoping I can get some help strengthening this skill.
Thank you for coming. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
And now I would like to continue with the rest of our program, and it is my privilege and an honor to introduce the person who is going to lead us throughout the rest of the meeting. He is the Toastmaster of the day. You have already heard from him tonight because he is also our Sergeant at Arms. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster of the day with a very interesting theme tonight. Toastmaster David Jones.
All right. Thank you, Elvis, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My theme today is Amazon, the pros and cons of Amazon that has entered into our lives. And as you come up here and speak or do one of your roles, if you can tell what you think your pros and cons are of Amazon. Now, for me, obviously, it's easy. You can buy any product on planet Earth online today and have it in your house in a couple of days. That's definitely a plus for me. You can also buy all of your groceries. You can have them delivered on schedule, or tomorrow morning you wake up. Sometimes at my girlfriend's house, I leave in the morning and there's a ton of groceries there. Now, this is a benefit because it saves you from having to go out and go shopping. So you have more time at work, you have more time with your family. You're not spending so much money on gas, wear and tear on your vehicle. You just sit into your home and order the items and they come to your house. It's wonderful. And you don't have to go out to the grocery store. You don't have to take a shower and get dressed and go out. You just stay at home, unless you're going to Walmart. You can stay in your pajamas and slippers and it's fine at Walmart. But then there's some negatives to Amazon. The local stores, they're not benefiting from you shopping. They're not benefiting from you going into the local store and supporting local business. There are also negatives where impulse buying. I'm very guilty of that. In the old days, you would want something. You'd go shopping from store to store. You might sleep on it. You have to go shopping the next day and you end up not buying it. But with Amazon, you see something on TV, you Google it, you see it's there on Amazon and you buy it immediately because you want it. And I personally have been guilty of this. With Zoom, I wanted to have a nice studio in my house, a Zoom studio, because I do a lot at work and also with Toastmasters. And I spent around $5,000 to get the best equipment, cameras and electronic equipment and lighting and sound. And if you ever see me on Zoom, you can see I have a nice studio in my house. But even with the thousands of dollars of equipment that I bought from Amazon, the main camera I use is this one right here, $50, because it's the easiest. The rest of the equipment sitting behind it, but it's because Amazon made it so easy for me to say, oh, I need that. And then they're also the genius of when you buy something, you're like, you might want to buy this too. And you're like, I do want to buy that too. So to me, those are the pros and cons of Amazon for me. And as you come up and talk, you can share your thoughts. I know that there's people that hate Amazon, but I believe they still have Amazon accounts, even though it's part of life. We have to deal with it. But I want to go ahead and get us started with our role keepers. And we're going to start with our inspirational thought master, Safwana. I believe you're online. I think I saw you zoom in. There you are.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Safwa. Should I just dive in?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. My name is Safwa. Good evening, Toastmasters and honorable guests. Thank you for having me as your inspirational speaker for tonight. One thing that crossed my mind as I thought about how can I inspire these folks? Well, something that we tend to do is define ourselves by the work that we do, how much money we get paid, our socioeconomic status, how many likes we get on our pictures on social media, how many followers we have. But aren't we worth so much more than that? Those are things of the earth. Those are fleeting things. So basically, I had to ask myself, well, what are we worth without those things? So what makes us more than that is our ability to give, our ability to serve others, our ability to understand others, our ethics and our truth is something that we should really consider whenever we get consumed by the things of the world. Let's focus on the things that really matter. And that's an inspiration I got from Goldie Hawn from Oprah Daily. Does anyone else love Oprah here? No? Okay. I love Oprah. I get so much wisdom from her. And this is like one of the inspirational quotes that she chose from Goldie Hawn. So, yeah, just remember that we're so much more than the things of the earth. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Safwa. I appreciate it. And next up is going to be our grammarian, also on Zoom, Colin. Colin, you want to share your thoughts about Amazon and tell us what the grammarian of the day is going to do?
Greetings, Toastmaster David. Thank you very much. Hello as well to fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. My thoughts on Amazon are complex. I agree with many of the pros and cons that you had shared, David. I think of all of the different values that I share and how that influences the way I think about Amazon, I think I hold environmentalism to a pretty high pedestal. And I do think that overall, Amazon is beneficial for the environment in terms of emissions from vehicles. Obviously, Amazon drivers continue to drive. Their vehicles, emit greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, for instance. But I'm inclined to think that a truck that's packed with all of the goods to fill an 8-hour workday full of deliveries is net positive, or I should say net negative in terms of carbon emissions compared to us going out to the store every time we need to buy one or two things. So overall, I'm inclined to think that it's good for that reason, although I will concede that there are other downsides to it, as you'd mentioned. It's my distinct pleasure to serve as your grammarian this evening. Now, as grammarian, I have 3 fundamental purposes in tonight's meeting, the first of which is to celebrate the use of good grammar, rich language, creative ways of saying things, the intonation with which you say things, and the way that influences the meaning of the words that you're using. So I'll be looking for examples of good use of language to point out, to celebrate, so that hopefully the rest of us can learn from it and emulate it in our own way. The second job that I have this evening is to present the word of the day. Now, unfortunately, screen sharing is disabled and I'm not there in person to flip a piece of paper on the lectern that David's standing behind so that you'll have the benefit of looking at the word of the day for the rest of the meeting. I'll work on getting some sort of a background for myself in Zoom that lists it, so hopefully folks can see it and use it. But the word that I've selected today is auspicious. Auspicious is an adjective. It's defined by Merriam-Webster as showing or suggesting that future success is likely. I think another way to define it is promising, fortunate. Although it sounds like suspicious, it's not exactly the opposite of suspicious. So to further illustrate its meaning, to use it in a sentence, fall is considered an auspicious time for weddings. Meaning that if you get married in fall, it's a promising sign for the fate of your marriage. Or to provide a sports analogy or example of the word auspicious, the young pitcher had an auspicious start to his baseball career by striking out 8 opponents. So striking out that many players is obviously a good thing. If you're not familiar with baseball, trust me in saying that striking out 8 opponents is a good thing. If you do it in your first game, I think that notes a pretty auspicious start to your career. And my final role this evening is to count the use of filler words. I don't do this to shame anyone or anything negative, but merely to make you aware of your use of filler words. I use a lot of filler words. I'm trying to cut back on my use of filler words, and I can't do that unless I am consciously aware of the fact that I'm using them in the first place. So at the end of the meeting, in addition to celebrating the good use of grammar, highlighting anyone who uses the word auspicious, you'll get special snaps and bragging rights for doing that. I will also be pointing out the use of filler words, again, not to shame anyone, but hopefully just to make you aware so that you can cut down on them as well. With that being said, back to you, Toastmaster David.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. And just to get the word auspicious, would it be proper to say that you are auspicious with the environment by riding your bicycle everywhere? Would that be a proper use? Maybe.
I think you could say by riding your bicycle everywhere that you can, it is auspicious for the future of the environment.
That's exactly what I said. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Give me credit. No, I'm just kidding. All right, next up is going to be our timer. Next up is our timer, and it's going to be Anders, and this is the first time Anders is becoming the timer. So, yay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Toastmaster David. So, as David mentioned, this is my first time being the timer. Please forgive me if I do not make the description perfectly, as well as maybe stumble with the lights a little bit. We'll find out. I'll start off with the pros and cons of Amazon as well, just to keep with the theme. I agree with a lot that's already been said. I think another aspect of it is kind of like a hopefulness around ambition. If you think of Jeff Bezos when he first started the company in his early interviews, he was a great sign of an auspicious leader for the building of a successful company. So it gives hope for if you ever want to embark on something that seems like an impossible dream. The cons also are kind of on the other side of that, where if you are a hopeful dreamer and you want to build a company, you might end up getting bought out or beaten out by the competition, such as your mom and pop shops that Amazon has kind of eliminated the market for in some ways. Now, as the timer, I help time the speeches as well as the table topics and the evaluations. The speeches have a time range from 5 to 7 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, a green light will flash on, and in front of the camera, a green piece of paper will be held up for those who can't see the light. The yellow light will flash on at the 6-minute mark, and the red light will flash on at the 7-minute. For the table topics, this is much shorter. The green light flashes on at the 1-minute mark, the yellow at the 1:30, and the red at the 2 minutes. And for the evaluator, the green light and green paper will come up at the 2-minute mark, the yellow at the 2-minute and 30-second mark, and the red at the 3-minute mark. And that is the timer's report. I will now hand the mic back to Toastmaster David.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. And next up is a gentleman who gave us his icebreaker last week, and he's jumping right into ballot counter. So please welcome Milton. And it's first time as ballot counter too, so we appreciate you doing it. Congrats.
Thank you, David. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters. I will be counting your ballots today. Very, very important responsibility I have here today. I'll be tallying the votes on 3 different speaking topics. The best speaker, best table topics, and best evaluator. And that's about it. I will do my best. I will put together all the ballots as orderly as possible. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. And for those of you on Zoom, after each segment, if you want to send in private message to ClubView, a message, and then I will give those to Milton. After each segment, Milton will walk around and pick up the little pieces of paper you have on your tables there. And next up is going to be our speeches. We have 2 speakers tonight. We're going to start with our treasurer, Jamie. And Jamie, I don't think filled out all of his forms, but that's okay. He's going to surprise us with the title. But but it is Presentation Mastery Level 2, Effective Body Language. Awesome, because we need a Level 2. 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer. And please welcome Jamie Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I am delighted to be delivering a speech for you tonight. Let's start with your question around Amazon, maybe before we get into my timer. So problematically, I think some of the labor practices that Amazon has employed have been concerning in terms of how they treat their workers. Are they getting fair pay for the work that they're delivering? On the positive side, I love Amazon Prime that comes with all of the free stuff, including TV. And I really, really enjoy Top Gear. And it's the only place you can get Top Gear anymore, including Clarkson's Farm. If you haven't seen Clarkson's Farm, that's another good spinoff of Top Gear. All right, to my speech. March 14th. Today is March 14th. This is a day that holds significance for me. And it should hold significance for all of you as well. And no, not because it's Pi Day, but Pi Day is 314. And yes, who doesn't love discounted pizza? I think we all do, but no, it's for a different reason, one that I will circle back to at the end of my speech. But first, I want to share a little bit about my childhood because it'll help you understand why this day holds so much meaning for me. So one of my first memories was when I was 5 years old and I was clutched to the front of a hand truck, one of those things that Amazon drivers use to move heavy boxes. And my dad was pushing me at a full sprint down the hallways at the School of Ecology at the University of Georgia. We would take those turns and end up on one wheel coming around as fast as we possibly could. It was amazing. It was an auspicious beginning to my childhood at this school or at the University of Georgia. Pretty quickly, it became where I grew up. I would play The Floor is Lava between the couches in the student lounge. I would wander through the laboratories, peering into the aquariums, looking at all manner of strange fish, reptiles, and insects. I would even sneak into places that I shouldn't go. I found myself on the roof one time as an 8-year-old. Not recommended. It didn't occur to me until later how strange it was that a kid would spend quite so much time at their parents' work. And it's because of a couple of things. My dad traveled a lot for work, and my mom ran the computer lab at the Institute of Ecology. And she was 100% committed to the professors and the students at this school. And by 100% committed, what I mean is when I was 4 weeks old, she brought me back to school and had me sleep under her desk when she went back to work. What I mean by 100% committed is she was always available. If a professor had their computer crash in the middle of the night, if a student lost all of their data and forgot to back it up, she would drop what she was doing, she would head over to their house, and she would help them fix it. Even if that meant leaving her 10-year-old son at home to make dinner for themselves. Sidebar, budget gourmet, Swedish meatballs and noodles, perhaps the pinnacle of microwavable cuisine, absolutely delicious. Even after all this, though, she was a salaried worker. She didn't receive overtime pay for any of these extra duties above and beyond her role, but she liked helping people. And I think she really liked feeling needed. And she was needed, even if she wasn't appreciated or recognized. Let me give you some examples. When she was trying to convince the school to invest in early Macintosh computers, they refused, even though they were more user-friendly for professors and students. So she had to go out and spend $2,500 out of pocket to bring one in, convince the professors of the benefits, and only after they talked to the school did they invest in it. When professors would go and do research, they would pay, or they would get stipends or grants to help fund their trips. When my mom wanted to continue her education and training, she had to pay out of pocket, even though she used those same skills to help those professors. When they opened up a new department in the school and they had to find offices for the professors, they asked my mom to move out of her office, which was modest, but had a nice view of the courtyard, and instead moved her into a smaller windowless room. They didn't even help her move. And perhaps most frustrating of all, as the school grew, as the computer needs grew for the school, instead of investing in my mom, instead of offering her a manager role, they brought in a man in the same role. And you know what? Never saw him on weekends. And that was obviously not fair to me. I recognized that that wasn't fair as a kid, but I didn't realize then that it was a really stark example of workplace inequality. And that brings us to March 14th. So does anyone know the significance of this day, March 14th? It's not Pi Day. It is Pi Day, but that's not the significance. It is Pay Equity Day. March 14th is Pay Equity Day. And what it symbolizes is the amount of time that a woman has to work to make the same amount of money as a man. Said differently, a woman has to work for 12 months and then 2.5 additional months through March 14th to make the same amount of money as a man makes in 1 year. And even though 30 years have gone by since my mom went so far above and beyond in her role, that pay equity gap persists. And now I'm much more attuned to it. I grew up in it. I saw my mom struggle with these experiences and not be recognized for what she did. So now I'm committed as a manager to pay equity on my teams. And as a father of 2 daughters, I feel it's my duty to make sure that they understand their worth, that they recognize and are recognized for their worth, and that they're paid equally. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I will turn it back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jamie. Appreciate it. And next up is going to be Eric Laxer. He is with Pathways Presentation Mastery Level 4 Manage Project Successfully #1. It is 2 to 3 minutes. Speech title is Planning and Organizing the Officials for the District 37 Speech Contest, the Chief Judge's Role. So just a little background. Eric is the Chief Judge for District 37, and he deals with speech contests in May. His role is to work with other contestant officials to recruit and organize the contest judges, timers, and ballot counters. The goal is to ensure that contestants compete in a fair and enjoyable contest. This project will focus on each step required to achieve this and will allow him to work on a variety of skills, including team building, planning, communication, and organizations. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Eric Laxer. Sir?
Just a quick Amazon comment. I think the convenience of Amazon is unparalleled, but they trap you because every now and again, I'll sign up for Amazon Prime for a reason. I don't always need it. And then when I try to cancel it, they're sending me 4 or 5 messages about how great it is to keep it. And on more than one occasion, I thought I canceled it. I didn't. And of course, I was charged the next month for my Prime. So if that happens, you can call and they'll reverse it, but don't make any purchases before you do that, because then they won't reverse it so readily. So good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, for that introduction. As we all know, Toastmasters is a really good training ground and stepping stone for things that we do outside of this club. For example, if you're working on a project or a speech at work and you want a place to practice it and get feedback, doing so in our meetings is not only helpful, but also you could incorporate those kinds of speeches into projects and pathways that you get credit for when you do your different levels in Toastmasters. And 2 personal examples for me are, one, as some of you know, last year my daughter got married and I had to give a father of the bride speech. And so there was a level 3 elective project that allows you to work on what are called social speeches, which are defined as eulogies, awards, and also toasts. And so I used my daughter's wedding speech as an opportunity to do that level as a toast. A second example is I was a chief judge for one of the area meetings last week, and there is a level 4 elective project that you can do that allows you to learn how to manage an online meeting. And so I had to do a debriefing for other judges. And so I used that opportunity to go through the pathways to learn about the right way to do an online project, to run an online meeting. And I was able to submit that for credit for one of my pathways. And so in each case, I was able to learn something practical that helped me outside of Toastmasters by going through the pathways. And the way I look at that is this reflects the true meaning of being part of Toastmasters. And to me, being in this room, it's kind of like if you're an athlete, this might be your gym, but beyond those doors is the arena. Or if you were a pilot, this might be your simulator, but beyond those doors is your cockpit. And so I think the wonderful thing that I like about Toastmasters is it really gives us opportunities to work in this room to build skills, leadership skills, public speaking skills that are of value to us outside of this room. And so one of those opportunities that I'm going to be taking advantage of is being the chief judge for our spring contest that you heard Debly speak about earlier. And that role requires planning, bringing together a team, making sure the team members know their roles, and making sure the event runs the way you hope it runs, planning for any potential unexpected events that can occur and being prepared for them. And then after the project is completed, doing a team and also a personal debriefing so you can maximize your learning opportunity from that experience. So my plan for this project is to use it to help work with the contest chair to build a team that can function as the officials for the meeting so that I and everybody else who's on the team can learn from that. And the second part of this project is coming back after that event and reporting back to the group through a normal 5 to 7 minute speech. So this was just to give the group an idea of how I'm using this project. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. Now, those of you on Zoom, don't forget you can vote for your favorite speaker tonight. Send it to the club view, direct message there, and I will get it and pass it on. The rest of you can fill out the bottom where it's the favorite speaker, fill it out, and then in a few minutes, Milton will come around and pick them up. And don't forget, with table topics coming up, the word is auspicious. Try to put auspicious in your table topics speeches. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I'm not going to turn it over to anybody until I get a timer's report. So almost forgot. Sir.
Thank you, Toastmaster David. So, timer report for the speeches. Jamie, your speech was 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Well done. And Eric, your speech was 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Still brief, still very impactful. Very good.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. All right. And now I'm going to turn it over to Allie Brooke, who is on Zoom, and she's going to be our table topics master, and she can explain what table topics is for those of you who don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Dave, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. So table topics, let me see if I have the rules correctly. I will ask a question and you will have 1 to 2 minutes to respond to the question. And did I forget anything?
No, that sounds
Awesome.
good.
Okay, so before I jump into it, I will talk about Amazon. So Amazon has shown us that anything is possible, and one could say it's auspicious. Things come to your home with ease, giving many people job opportunities that did not have them. Now, on the reverse side, as we've all been saying, the pros and cons of it this evening, is it's also shown us that urgency addict and feeds that, as well as the loss of that familiar mom and pop shop, of that attentive warmth and care when you come into a store and somebody that knows your name or knows who you are. So we've also lost a lot of that due to Amazon as well. So moving forward, who would like to, this is open to guests as well. Who would like to be the first one?
We have one. Dave has raised his hand. So welcome, Dave. Yeah.
Great. Now, before he goes, I did not know the theme was Amazon, so I just picked a bunch of questions. So your first question, home is a noun, a verb, an adjective, a place of dwelling, homing, or your home address. It can reference an internal of coming home to yourself or an outside structure. How do you define home and why?
Okay, thank you, Toastmaster Allie, for the question. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the question is, how do I define home? Before I take that question, I'll do the quick Amazon comment. one thing that I have not heard this evening is AWS, Amazon Web Services. And that's Amazon's basically infrastructure for cloud computing and storage and that sort of thing. And there are a lot of companies behind the scenes that are using that even if you're not doing anything with Amazon, they're probably using that behind the scenes. So one thing to note there. To the question, how do I define home? I think I would define home is where I live. We'll start with that. That's the easy definition. And I would say I guess it's where my family is. My family consists of myself, my wife, our dog, and our cat. And we have actually just recently moved to Charlotte. And so our home has traveled with us. But I think it's definitely the people that we surround ourselves with. And that is probably the definition I'm going with. But I was going to say something else. Let's fill up the extra with home being a base in baseball. Thank you very much.
Good recovery. That was awesome. All right, Allie, go ahead.
Okay. Our next one. Thank you very much.
I think Leon White has his hand up. He's voluntold as he's representing the club and table topics. Next week, Thursday. Thanks, sir.
Hi, Ali, but I guess before you ask my question, I'd like to speak a little bit to the topic of Amazon. You know, I have mixed feelings about Amazon for many different reasons, and I'm also familiar with AWS, and I think they have the contract with the FBI. I think they do a lot of their cloud services as well. And it is a very auspicious company. And the fact that when I look at the documentaries of how Amazon became Amazon, I mean, what Jeff Bezos did was very brilliant from a business perspective. However, I do think that culturally and some of the values that, at least here in America and starting to expand across the globe, is this consumer-centric values where people have access to more, they have more, they want more, but yet they still feel like they have less. And so I think that it's time across the country and maybe even across the globe to reevaluate some of our values and some of the stress that that's putting on our planet, and also some of the things that we may be lacking in fulfillment, but yet we have more stuff that only collects dust and end up in junkyards. But so, yeah, Allie, ready for the question?
Okay. Leon, if you could wave a magic wand and declare a new holiday, what would it be and why?
Thank you for the question, Allie. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honorable guests. To have the ability to create a holiday is a very auspicious ability, because you would have the ability to say to everyone, this is a day that you need to stop and think about a specific event, value, idea, or maybe even an issue. And so if I had to answer that question directly in terms of what sort of holiday I would create a holiday that is centered around the focus of community. To give people a moment to stop and think about community within themselves and also the community that they can build with other people. Historically speaking, and even from a theological standpoint, that day has always been Sunday for the most part. But some people would say the NFL owns Sunday now. but that's debatable. But I do think that we deserve a day to remember deeply who we are and maybe expand the human consciousness to think a little bit more about where we're headed, to reflect on where we've been, and more importantly, gain a deeper understanding of who we are right now. And so if I had to create a day, I would say it would be a day to celebrate human consciousness, because that is what makes us different from a pig or a horse or a cat or a dog, is that we have the ability to create and think forward. And that is a true blessing and a true gift, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Leon. I would love that holiday. It sounds like an incredible holiday. Anybody else?
Click on some Zoom people. We got quite a few. There you go.
I think I saw two. Who's up? We'll go Andrea first. Is that okay? All right, Andrea, do you want to, how are you? Are you ready for your question? Okay. Music evokes many things in people. We have many incredible songs, I would say they're auspicious, that have ever been written. What is your favorite song? How does it make you, and how does it make you feel, and why?
So my favorite song is from childhood, and it was a song that I used to sing with my mom, and the song, it just evokes love and harmony, joy, trust in God, trust in Him. So we would always sing this song together. And the song just says, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for all you've done for me." And we would sing it together. And I've been singing with my mom all my life. And because of her, I am who I am. So no matter where I go, I can take a song with me. So if you told me like 3 words and said, "Andrea, what do you think of this?" It would immediately be a song. I would immediately come up with a song. I would immediately say, "Thank you for being my friends." Those are songs that make me feel something. They make me connect with something. And if you think about any song that's like, it could be a sad song, a happy song, an exciting song, a silly song like "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Those songs take you back to a time where you remember what was going on. Like, for instance, "What's Going On?" We know, I remember that song when I was little. I remember when he passed away. So those songs make you think about events. In every event, there is a song, good or bad, that would help you go back to that moment. So always take a song with you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I love that. Definitely take a song with you. It evokes beautiful memories. Okay. Yes, Zafwa, you ready?
Yes. Hi.
Okay. All right. As we are coming close to St. Patrick's Day, there's a saying, the luck of the Irish, or the lucky 4-leaf clover, or feeling lucky at the craps table in Vegas. Do you believe in luck? Do you have a memory that you can reflect on something lucky that happened to you?
That is a great question. Thank you so much, Ali, for asking me that. Good evening, Toastmasters and honorable guests. Do I believe in luck? I believe you can get lucky if you're prepared, if you work hard. But I mostly believe in being blessed, because I am a Christian woman and I believe in blessings. I do remember a specific moment. I work as a realtor. So I was showing a house to my client and it felt really good. I just felt like she loved that house. The minute we walked in, we just felt right. So after we were done, we parted ways. I said bye to my client. I looked down at the front step and I found a 4-leaf clover. Actually, it was just right there. I didn't even have to look for it. So I picked it up and I have a picture. I wish I could share it with you guys. But anyway, she ended up buying the house. The transaction went very well. I guess that was lucky. But to answer your question, I do believe in blessings. But that was my experience with a 4-leaf clover in relation to St. Patrick's Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have time for any more?
I was on mute. No, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Allie. And can we get a timers report, please?
Sir. Thank you, sir. So everyone did a really good job of staying within the time ranges. Everybody stayed within 1 minute to 2 minutes. So well done.
Thank you, sir. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator, which is our club president, Elvis. Elvis, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good evening again, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I have the honor to be the general evaluator tonight. And as part of my role, I will be introducing the evaluators who are going to be evaluating the prepared speeches. I am going also introduce our grammarian who is going to give us final report and how we did with the use of the language and our filler words. And also I would be giving a general overview of the meeting as a whole. So without further ado, I would like to call upon our first evaluator who is going to be evaluating Jamie. Please help me welcome our first evaluator, John Capello.
Hi, sir. Thank you.
Before I start my evaluation, I will call upon my thoughts of Amazon. And for those of the veteran Toastmasters that here know that I am obsessed with personal finance and budgeting. And to me, as much as I love the convenience of Amazon, impulse buying, and David alluded to this, is probably the worst thing you can do to maintain a personal budget. How often you find yourselves where you're just randomly clicking and then you look at the end of the month and go, whoa, wait a minute, I'm going to be a little short this month. And for that reason, I try to minimize how frequent I use Amazon. My little personal finance tip there for a second. Okay, it is my pleasure, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, folks online, to evaluate Jamie Richardson. And tonight his speech was entitled 314, a very personal date for him, as we clearly learn. Now, for those that have been here for a while, you know that Jamie is an absolute veteran. He is professional. He's always very organized and structured in his speeches, the intro, the body, the conclusion. Very crisp, self-confident. And tonight was a breath of fresh air in the sense that we got a little different side of Jamie. We got the vulnerability side of Jamie. And tonight, I'm going to cover two aspects of his speech, both in content as well as nonverbal gestures, which is part of the goal of this speech, is to utilize it within his speech. So let's first talk about the content. And Jamie utilized something that I absolutely love, which is the story. This is what helps us to get to know Jamie. But more importantly, if our goal here as speakers is to have impact, and that is truly our goal / destination, I've said this before, that the story is the vehicle that gets you there. And you did just that by sharing with us your childhood stories, by making us truly feel how you felt as your fond memories of childhood, and then learning about something that was very important to us. You left us an important message, a call to action, something you wanted us to know, feel, or do, and you certainly delivered that in terms of workplace equality. So in terms of utilizing the story, I think you were very effective at that, and it all resonated with us in terms of that message. But one of the goals of this speech is really to accentuate your use of verbal or nonverbal gestures and to really enhance that message. Now, Albert Mehrabian, I don't know if anyone has heard of Professor Albert Mehrabian. He has a rule that he says when delivering anything of emotion, that 7% comes from verbal, 38% comes from your verbal inflections, and 55% of it comes from your physical gestures and facial expressions. So let's highlight some of those things that stood out for me. You talked about something as simple as I'm riding a cart. You felt like we were there as if we were a kid riding through the halls. You talked about peering. I think it was through aquariums or into other classrooms. That resonated with me. Delicious, to highlight a food gesture so that we could really taste it. Those are the types of things that accentuate and add to your story. Then things that are more important, such as the fish shake, to really let us know that your mother's resolve and her relentless and selflessness, that really help drive home the story. Those help to connect, that helps it be more impactful. Here's some things, particularly as it relates to gestures, that I would call for you to work on. First of all, right at the beginning, you said you were delighted to be here. Your smile, you got to have a smile with that, because congruency is so important. You need to be congruent. You want that smile so that we feel that you're happy to be here. Something small, but I wanted to call it out. Other things are, you could list things. You talked about several examples. I know you do this a lot, but hey, 1, 2, 3, you're going through a list of examples. It's small, but very important points. And then finally, be careful of the finger pointing. I know that's always used sometimes. They say to be cautious with that. Sometimes they say use an upward facing palm. It's a little less threatening. When you point at someone, sometimes people don't like to be forced to told what to do effectively. But overall, I thought that was an auspicious sign of future tugs on our heartstrings, and I look forward to many more. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, John. That was an excellent evaluation. And now I would like to call upon our second evaluator, who is none other than myself. And I'm going to evaluate the second speaker, Mr. Eric Laxer. So before I go into the evaluation, I would like to also offer my comment about Amazon. I also am on the side of those who don't like to make compulsive purchases. However, I like the convenience of finding things whenever I want to do a purchase. And I find it very easy to go to Amazon and find whatever I want without spending much time and have it at home in 1 day, in 2 days, or even in an hour. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy from Amazon. The rest, all the messages, all the emails, all the follow-up, I really hate. So now going to our evaluation. Eric, thanks again for giving us a very informational speech. Your speech was a very well structured, and as I mentioned, it was a very informational speech. Your objective was to inform about Toastmasters, the path of being a Toastmasters and how the benefits, the rewards, the learning process helps you or can help us to be a better leader or a better communicator. I would say that the purpose of the meeting was fulfilled the way you deliver your speech. Now, in terms of how you delivered it, I like the way specifically that you took us into the journey, how you were introduced into Toastmaster, how you started, how your projects, both personal as a speaker and also as a leader, have helped you in that path. You gave us an example about how you used Toastmaster to give a speech when your daughter was getting married. And also, you gave us an example of being a chief judge and how that has helped you in the process of becoming a better leader. You took us on that journey, explaining how in each of those steps, there's a learning process. And there's a reward, which is specifically the credits that you get that would help you in advancing in your pathways. You've ended up with explaining what your next project is going to be, and you gave us an example of how that is going to help you in preparing your next speech. Now, one of the things that I would like to give as a point of improvement is at the end, even though you had a great structure, it was very informational. It would have helped even more to make it more impactful, to give a call to action. Like, for example, and those who are joining our club now could also benefit by practicing. The practice by participating in our club roles, participating in giving speeches is part of what helps us in that process. So again, very well structured, very informational, and taken into consideration, given a call to action at the end. I think it was a great speech, and I look forward to listening your next one. And now back to myself again. Now I would like to call upon the timer to give us the timer report.
I should have paid better attention at the other meetings. I didn't realize I'd be getting up this much. All right, so timer report. John, or there you are. John, Elvis, you both went slightly over, but given the insightfulness and the thoughtfulness of your evaluations, I mean, I think, yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Thank you much. Yeah. You get to practice your speaking and cardio exercise here. It's perfect.
All righty. Well, now I would like to give my overview of the meeting as a whole. So I will be brief, starting with our starting time. We started as usual on time, and that's a good thing. We are very careful and very respectful of the time. So that's a good thing. I love the theme. That was very different, David, as a Toastmaster, and I love the participation of everyone giving an insight in regards to the theme. I like the way we did the introduction, especially introducing our dignitary, giving us some of the projects that are coming up as part of Toastmasters and our possibility of being the host of the hospitality club event. Continuing with our role as inspirational speaker, we have Safwed, who gave us a very insightful, very inspirational speech. And also Colleen, as a grammarian, gave us a very, very thorough introduction of your role as a grammarian, also a very auspicious word that helped us in all the process throughout the meeting. The timer, Anders, to do it as the first time, I think you did a great job, a great explanation and participation after every speech. Ballot counter, great introduction, Milton, and kudos to both the speaker for an excellent job. John, as the evaluator, excellent job as usual. And with that, I would conclude my session of the evaluation by calling upon our grammarian for our grammarian report.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Elvis. It was an excellent evaluation as always. So this brings us to our grammarian's report this evening. I'd like to begin by celebrating some exceptional uses of language that I've recorded or noted during the meeting. I'll start by giving kudos to Jamie for what I thought was a very rich and humorous line in his magnificent speech. And I quote, "The pinnacle of microwavable cuisine." I know that's a partial quote. I forget what it was in regards to. Was it Salisbury steak or Swedish meatballs or matzo balls or something? I can't remember what it was, but I thought the pinnacle of microwavable cuisine paired with that chef's kiss was a magnificent line, very memorable. I got a good chuckle out of that. That brings me to Eric, you silver-tongued devil. Your analogy of Toastmasters kind of being like a flight simulator and the outside world as being our cockpit. I thought that was super insightful, super memorable, creative. I love analogy in speech. I think it's a high form of intelligence. So that was a soft flex there. I respect it. Andrea, that notion of taking the song with you is not something I had ever considered before. That gave me a lot to think about. I thought it was very poetic, illustrative. You know, you've kind of given me a new way to think about music. I'm always singing. I've always got a song on my brain. So I'm gonna recycle that one. I'll give you credit for it, of course, but I'm gonna take that saying with me as well. And then finally, John Capello, I thought your use of the word congruent to illustrate the need to align gestures with what's actually being said was really creative. That was also a soft flex, I think. You know, you don't hear the word congruent too much outside of a middle school geometry classroom, but I thought it was really apt here, and I really enjoyed that. That brings me to our use of filler words. So there were filler words that were used tonight. I'll get to that in a moment, but I want to give props to the folks who made it through this entire meeting without using any of them. And I'll start with President Elvis. Elvis, for the amount of speaking that you've done tonight, the fact that you've used no filler words, I think is wonderful. So kudos to you. And also John Capello, you made it through that entire evaluation without the use of a filler word, but you're a pro and I've come to expect that from you. So I would have been disappointed if you did. So thank you for meeting expectations there. In terms of folks who used one or two filler words, that includes David, which again, for the amount of speaking you've done tonight, I think that's pretty exceptional. Anders, Milton, Jamie, Eric, Leon, and Andrea. Folks who have used three or more include Ali, Safwa, the gentleman who first went for the table topics whose name escapes me. I apologize for that. I'll take the blame for that. And also myself, we all had more than three filler words. So something to keep in mind. And finally, folks who deserve special applause for the use of the word of the day. We have David, Elvis, Anders, Jamie, Leon, who double dipped on the filler word, not the filler word, the word of the day, used it twice. Great job. And John Capello. So with that, say great job, everyone. Spectacular meeting, wonderful use of grammar. And I'll turn it back to you, Toastmaster Elvis.
Thank you, Colleen. Great. premier report. And before I turn it back to our Toastmaster, my apologies because I missed to say how great the table topics session was. Great job, Ellie, and all of the table topic speakers who participated. That was a great session, and kudos to all of you. Now, back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Elvis. And for his first time, we're going to go ahead and introduce our ballot counter to find out who tonight's favorites were. Please come on up. Yay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, David, once again. And so the winners for this evening's speaking topics, tabletop, actually, best evaluator is John Cabello. Welcome. And table topics. This one was a nail biter. Leon. And the best speaker goes to Jamie Richards. Good job. Good job, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Milton. Appreciate it. It's fun to have ballot counter back. It's a good role to have for people, and also it's fun for the club. And before I turn it back over to President, I want to give it to our Vice President of Education, so I can blush a little bit tonight. But I don't know what he's going to do or say. It's a big surprise. Here you go.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Congratulations to everybody this evening for helping us make a fantastic meeting. One of the nice things that I have to do is pay tribute and recognize people in our club who have achieved certain level of achievements. And it is my pleasure to recognize 2 club members who have achieved a Triple Crown Award, which refers to having achieved 3 educational milestones in the course of a calendar year. And those individuals are our Toastmaster of the Day, David Jones, and our member online, Andrea Williams. So please join me in giving them a round of applause. And you receive a wonderful pin, which I'm delighted to present to David. And Andrea, you're virtual, so we will make sure we get one for you next time you're here, hopefully. The second thing I must do this evening is recognize that on January 31st, we had our mid-season speech contest, and we had 2 winners that have gone on to represent our group at area and then at the division levels. And the first person to recognize who placed first in the evaluation contest and second in table topics is again Toastmaster Andrea Williams. So a round of applause for her, please. And then our member who has placed first in the table topics division and who, because he's here, actually gets the trophy. Please join me in congratulating Toastmaster Leon. Thank you, everybody. And I will now send the meeting back to our Toastmaster of the Day, David. Thank you.
And speaking of the, thank you. And Andrew, we do have your trophies here. So next time you're in person, we will give them to you. Speaking of contests, next Thursday, 6:30 on Zoom, we have the division contest, which Andrea and Leon will both be in. If you're interested in helping out, we need timers, ballot counters, judges. You have to be at a level 2 to be a judge. So if anybody's interested, next Thursday night, 6:30, let me know and we can have you help out with the contest. And we're getting late, so I'm going to turn it back over to our president, Elvis.
Thank you so much, David. And please help me with another round of applause for our Toastmaster of the Day for an excellent job. Thank you, David. And once again, we would like to go back to our guests. Please give us your final thoughts about the meeting as a whole, how you felt, and give us a little bit of your final impressions. So I would like to start with the ones that are online. So we'll go back to these, please. You'll mute yourself.
I just want to say thank you, first of all, for everyone. I don't know, I guess this is the regular flow of things I'm just trying to follow, but everyone seems so comfortable and just so into the different topics. So I am interested in learning how to actually join. I think I would prefer to be in person, so I'll find that information out later to attend. But I'm very impressed. I didn't know what to expect, but I have enjoyed it so far. So thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And next, I would like to hear again from Deb, been in our meeting for the first time. So please give us your final impressions of the meeting.
Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, I had fun tonight. It was enjoyable to be able to see a hybrid club in action, where it wasn't everybody was in the room and only one person on Zoom, or everybody in Zoom and only one person in the room. You had a very nice balance, and it was nice to see how you managed that. I'm quite impressed, and who knows? Maybe one of my clubs will one day say, okay, how do we do this? And then I'm going to say, let's all go visit Queen City and see how they're doing it right. So thanks for being a shining example.
It was a pleasure to have you. You're very welcome. And now I would like to turn it back to our guests on site.
Thank you. As Elvis stated, these were some great speeches. Jamie, I didn't realize that today was such a significant day. Like Melton mentioned, I thought that today was just Pi Day, but looks like it's just more than just Pi Day. Listening to all these great speeches, Leon, congratulations to you, and everyone else that's on Zoom, just being here. I definitely do appreciate being a part of such a great team, a group of people that's willing to inspire others to be great speakers. Thank you.
Thanks, Xavier.
Thanks again for joining us. I know that you've been also visiting us for a few times, and you're always welcome. With that, I would like to close out the meeting. Please remind all of the members to please join for the roll for next meeting. We will be meeting again next Tuesday, and you're all very welcome. So thank you all who participated. Thank you so much. And I would like to call the meeting officially to a close. Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night. And members, don't forget dues are due by the end of the month. Right. Dues are due by the end of the night or end of the month. Next week.
Jamie, can you have Jamie email me? Please.
Okay. Andrea, that was you, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for coming, Sonia. Appreciate it, as always. And thanks, Deb. Thanks.
Thank you. And let me know if you have any questions. We'd love to have you actively participate.
Sounds like it's something we'd want to be a part of too. Yeah.
I think,
all right.
I think you'll have fun. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night.